Hello viewers, I am Huma Siddiqui and I am in conversation with the Ambassador of Argentina, Ambassador Mariano for the StratNewsGlobal. Welcome Ambassador Mariano.
Thank you for coming, for having this opportunity to have a conversation. But first of all, I think we have to deliver, of course, to convey our message of support to India. Argentina and India stand together against terror. We have been victims of terrorism. You know that Argentina is a country that suffered two terrorist attacks in 1992 and 1994.
Okay.
The first one was against the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires, and the second to the Jewish community center in Buenos Aires. In altogether, they killed more than 100 people, innocent lives of Argentines living there. And so we know what's going on. And we know when a country as India suffers terrorism and the threat of terrorism, or maybe in some areas in almost a daily basis. So we support you. We, of course, our thoughts with the people the families of the ones who are lost, and we hope that governments are able to prevent and to prosecute the responsibles for this.
Do you think that there is a way that India and Argentina can work together in the fight against terrorism? Since you have also been a victim and
yes.
India has been a victim of terrorist attacks for a long time.
Well, you know, Argentina and India are countries very far away. We belong to different cultures. We you take 20 hours to fly from one to the point to the other. But we are members of the G20, yes. And I think we are convinced that the G20 is a platform that represents more accurately or close to accurately, say, today's world, in the sense of that there the countries of the G7 are represented, but also rising countries as India and others in the region, including mine. So we think that that platform should be used to analyze, to study, and to take measures in the global stage with the main actors of the system regarding the prevention and the reduction of the terrorist activities. Unfortunately, as you know, terrorism won't disappear from the earth, because terrorism evolves, unfortunately, and it changes the methodology, but unfortunately, terror, the use of terror, is a political weapon that has been used since the world exists. So, but governments have to prevent, have to reduce it to the minimum expression, and fundamentally, we are convinced that the responsibles of this have to be prosecuted. Also, and the states that sponsor this type of situations have to be punished, have to be because they are a threat to the peace and security in the world. So I think with the G20 is a platform in which countries as India, as Argentina, among others, allies, are able to work. Of course, I'm not an expert in this, but the cooperation and trust between states is fundamental, because there are some countries that have information, and information has to be shared, but you have to share information when you trust. If you don't trust, it's impossible to do.
So coming down to bilateral trade, besides, India and Argentina are celebrating 75 years of diplomatic relations. But 75 years doesn't get, now we are in the 76th year.
Exactly.
So what is the current bilateral trade between the two countries, and how can Argentina play an important role in food security?
Yes. Well, Argentina is a country almost as large as India. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world. India is the 7th. Of course, there is a difference between the population, because you have here almost 1.5 billion people, and we are all less than 50. So it's a huge difference in that sense. But Argentina is a country that is able to produce food for millions and hundreds of millions of people. And the region of South America is very rich in producing that type on providing food security. So Argentina, at the current moment, Argentina is the #1 provider in terms of soybean oil to India. It's the #3 in terms of sunflower oil. And we are convinced that that could be expanded. We are working all the time in this, trying to India to accept more of our products. Of course, it is always work that we are doing, trying to get other products like walnuts and others. But we are sure that Argentina and India are enjoying a great time in the relationship, but it could be even better because the two economies are very complementary one to the other. So today, answering your question, the trade relationship between the two countries is around $5 billion, 4.6, 4.7. It has been growing a lot in the last 5 years. Since Argentina and India established their strategic alliance in between the two relations, and it's approximately $5 billion, but it could be more, and it could be more diversified, let's say.
So, are we only getting soybean oil and sunflower oil, or is there anything more in the agri products that we are getting from?
Yes, there are, but it's not in large quantity, and it could be more. But of course, here, as it is not a secret that India, in some ways, is a little protectionist. To be diplomatic, to say a little protectionist is too protectionist. We understand the domestic reasons, we understand the situation, but we need, and we ask all the time that if India opens more its economy for countries like mine, it will be in your benefit because you will get more and more products at lower prices. So that will be extremely positive for the Indian consumers, for the domestic market. So we could expand that to many other products. We are working here all the time with the agricultural authorities and people from the government of India in that sense.
Energy security is another region where India and Argentina are close, and recently there has been 2 major visits from your country. If you could sort of elaborate on that, and what are the agreements that we signed about participating in various projects?
Well, Argentina, as I was saying, it's a country that it has a lot of natural resources and a relatively small population. So the good thing about that is that it's a country that can provide food security, but it can also provide energy security because it's a country that can provide, for example, LNG to a country as India, because we have a huge reserve of gas in the south of Argentina called Vaca Muerta. It's among the largest in the world, and we are developing that. We are looking for investments, foreign investments, to develop that. And India, of course, is a big, demands almost unlimited quantities of energy. So a country as Argentina can provide energy security to India. Of course, India demands energy from many countries, even the most important energy providers in the world, the Gulf countries and Russia and many others. But also it can diversify that provision, let's say, from countries as Argentina. And, as you mentioning, we had the visit of the president of YPF. YPF is a national oil and gas company of Argentina, the largest, Horacio Marin. He has been here, he's the chairman of the company. He has been here in September last year and in January this year. And they signed a number of MIUs with Indian companies of the sector under the auspices of the Minister of Petrol, Hardeep Puri. So we are happy. It is a first step of cooperation that we think it would be very good for India and very good for Argentina.
Also in the field of rare earths or rare minerals, as you would like to call, Argentina has lithium.
Yes.
Lithium is something that India wants or India is looking for, many other countries as well. So how much lithium can India get, and if there are any MOUs in place?
Yes.
And any other minerals that we are getting from Argentina?
Well, Argentina has been working with India in terms of rare minerals, in terms specifically in lithium, in the last years. And in the province of Catamarca, the province is equivalent here of a state. It's a province in the north of Argentina. There is important investments from Indian companies, from Kabil, and they are working on a company called Camien. It's a company from the state of Catamarca. The governor of Catamarca, the governor is the equivalent here of the chief minister. No? It's the same as governor in the U.S. In a U.S. state. It has been here, Raúl Jalil. He was here recently, I think in February.
February.
You met him, and he signed agreements with Indian companies to expand this cooperation. And they are working not only in lithium, but in copper and exploring other minerals. Also, Argentina is exporting some gold to India. It has exported, I think, around 400 or 450 million dollars last year, which is about approximately 10% of the total trade relationship. It is 15% of the Argentine exports. It's still not so much as the other of soybean oil and sunflower oil, but it's still important. And India is demanding gold from many other countries, even many countries in my region also.
Yes, Peru is one of them.
For example,
in the nuclear energy sector,
yes,
India and Argentina have been working together for small nuclear reactors.
Yes.
So what is the status of that? Have we done it? Is it still in the process?
Well, Argentina is a country. India, of course, is a country that has a very important development in terms of nuclear technology, and you even have nuclear weapons. We don't have. But we still have a very important nuclear development. Argentina has provided India with a nuclear installation in Mumbai for medical reasons. It's called radioisotopo in Spanish. I don't know exactly the translation to English. But that has been installed and it has been done in the last 10 years, and it has been finished, I think, a number of years ago. And that was made by INVAP, a company in Argentina. And that's an example of what we can do together. In terms of these small reactors, Argentina has developed this possibility, and so it can provide that to a country as India that apparently, as I was told, because I'm not an expert in nuclear energy, they are very good for small or relatively small cities, at least in Indian terms, in which you have a city here for 1 million or 2 million people. It's small. For us, it's big. But they are convenient in that case. So the two counterparts are working together, and I hope they can find a way in which they can benefit the two parts, and we can expand that, or we can continue that field in cooperation. But now I think they are going to be able, the two governments, to reach agreement on that. They have been working in the details of these agreements for a long time. But I think we are going to have some good news about that. I cannot say exactly when, but I think they are working good on that. But it is, of course, nuclear technology, nuclear development is sophisticated, let's say, endeavor in which the two countries they have prestige, and the possibility of working together is always good, of course.
One last question. What is Argentina getting from India, and what about the cultural ties?
Well, Argentina buys some motorcycles and some ingredients for pharmaceutical products and for clothing products, and among other things. Cultural, it's a good question, because in this world in which we are living, it's like a sort of contradiction. One thing that this relationship has, unfortunately, doesn't have, is that we don't have Indians in Argentina, and we don't have Argentines here. We are very few here, and they are very few there. So it's not a relationship between two countries that have a cultural presence as it happens in other countries. No? So that it is a limitation for a relationship. But at the same time, I would say that here many Indians have a good valoration of, for example, for tango, for polo. I went to the polo season, and they have admiration for the Argentine players and the Argentine horses, and even for literature and other areas. But in the case of Argentina, I would say that India culture is very appreciated in Argentina. For example, the Yoga Day in you celebrate it all over the world, almost all over the world. But in Argentina, at least what I know, it was a success. I think it was in June. I was already here. Yeah. It was the days that I was coming here. So I was not last year, but I read in the Argentine newspaper there are huge quantities of people going there in the capital city, Marseille, but also in some cities in the interior of Argentina. So, and another thing that you have is the Indian food. Indian food is very well appreciated in my country. There are not many, but some Indian restaurants. But the best Indian food in Buenos Aires is in your embassy. It's in the ambassador's destination restaurant. I will show to him that he is the best. In that sense.
But you also have a place called Hastinapur in Argentina, you know, where they have all these bhajans and they have pure vegetarian food there.
But in the case of the Indian food, we appreciate very much Indian food in Argentina, but you have to do it a little mild, no? Because if it is too spicy, it is difficult.
How difficult is it for an Indian investor or a businessman to do business in your country?
It's not
one
difficult.
Line.
It's not difficult. No, Argentina, under the current government, under the leadership of President Milei, it's developing an economic reform. So what we are doing here is we have been doing for 1 year and a half since the new government took office. It's a program of reduction of bureaucracy and trying to make things easier for people trying to start a business, and reducing the impact of government in the economy, because the economy works when the private sector works. The government cannot produce wealth. A government can distract wealth, unfortunately, as we have seen in so many countries. But government has to help the private sector, and we are trying to do that. So Argentina is in a program of economic reform, in some way, I won't say the same, but in some way in the same spirit as the one you started in 1991 here, that has allowed India to grow so much and to become the economy number 5 in the world, and with a huge success that you are having here.
Thank you so much, Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
To the Argentine embassy.
And with that, we come to an end with our conversation with the Ambassador of Argentina. I request our viewers to subscribe to our channel on StratNewsGlobal, and see you later.